HOA fined me for my grass, so I made it out of plastic. It was a scorching July afternoon in suburban Phoenix when I found the letter. The kind of day where the asphalt radiates heat in visible waves and walking barefoot to the mailbox leaves your feet feeling like they've been held against a hot iron. I just returned from a 2-week business trip to Boston, exhausted but relieved to be home. My lawn, predictably, looked terrible. The Arizona sun had not been kind to my Kentucky bluegrass during my absence. Despite the automated sprinkler system I'd installed last year, patches of brown dotted what should have been a uniform green carpet. The edges where the lawn met the sidewalk had begun to recede, creating an uneven border that I knew would catch the critical eye of Patricia Delaney, our neighborhood's self-appointed lawn inspector. I sighed, flipping through the mail I'd collected. Bills, advertisements, a postcard from my sister in Seattle, and there it was, the cream-colored envelope with the Saguaro Springs Homeowners Association logo embossed in the corner. My stomach tightened. Dear Mr. Reynolds. The letter began in Patricia's unmistakable font choice. During a routine neighborhood inspection on July 12th, your property at 4572 Cactus Wren Drive was found to be in violation of Section 7.3 of the Saguaro Springs HOA covenant regarding lawn maintenance standards. Specifically, your front lawn shows significant discoloration, uneven growth patterns, and inadequate edging. As per the covenant you signed upon purchasing your property, all lawns must maintain a consistent, healthy appearance year-round. A fine of $150 has been assessed to your account. The letter continued with details about how I had 15 days to remediate the issue before an additional fine would be levied. I crumpled the paper in my fist before catching myself and smoothing it back out. This wasn't the first notice I'd received since moving into Saguaro Springs 3 years ago, but it was the first to come with a fine. Consistent, healthy appearance year-round, I muttered to myself. In Arizona, during a drought, makes perfect sense. I walked across my dying lawn and looked at my neighbor's properties. The Johnsons to my left had a pristine stretch of green that I knew cost them a small fortune in water bills. To my right, the Mendozas had given up the grass battle entirely, opting instead for a desert landscape of decorative rock, cacti, and drought-resistant shrubs. A xeriscaped oasis that Patricia had initially objected to but eventually had to approve after the Mendozas presented research on water conservation. I stood in my driveway, exhausted from travel, staring at my patchy lawn while the sun beat down on my neck. The HOA wanted perfect grass in the desert. I had 15 days to fix it or pay more fines, and I was completely, utterly finished with fighting this losing battle. That's when the idea first came to me. If Patricia Delaney wanted perfect green grass that defied the laws of nature and the Arizona climate, perhaps that's exactly what I should give her. I called in sick to work the next day. After the long business trip, no one questioned it, and I needed time to formulate my plan. I spent the morning on my laptop, researching alternatives to natural grass that could withstand the brutal Phoenix climate without requiring constant water and attention. My first stop was the website of a local landscaping company that specialized in desert-friendly yard conversions. Their portfolio showcased beautiful xeriscaped yards, rock gardens, and succulent arrangements. But I knew Patricia would never approve such a dramatic change, not without months of committee meetings and architectural review board hearings. Then I found what I was looking for: artificial turf. Not the harsh, plastic-looking stuff from the 1970s football fields, but modern synthetic grass that looked remarkably natural. The latest products had varied blade heights, multiple shades of green mixed together, and even some blades that were slightly brown at the tips to mimic natural variation. They were UV-resistant, drainage-optimized, and promised to remain perfect for at least 15 years with minimal maintenance. I spent the afternoon visiting 3 different suppliers in the Phoenix area, collecting samples, comparing prices, and asking detailed questions about installation. By evening, I had narrowed my options to 2 products, Desert Lawn Premium and Evergreen 365. Both looked amazingly realistic, even when I placed them next to a patch of healthy grass in a store display. The cost wasn't insignificant, about $8 per square foot including professional installation, which meant nearly $12,000 for my modestly sized front yard. But when I calculated what I had spent on water, fertilizer, weed control, and lawn service over the past 3 years, plus the emotional cost of dealing with Patricia's constant scrutiny, the artificial turf would pay for itself within 5 years. There was also a certain satisfaction in knowing that once installed, my grass would be perfect. Permanently perfect, drought-proof, heat-resistant, and always meeting Section 7.3 standards no matter how long I was away on business trips. That evening, I called Mike Gonzalez, a former colleague who had installed artificial turf at his home in Scottsdale the previous year. "Best decision I ever made," Mike told me. "The only thing I regret is not doing it sooner. My water bill dropped by 40%, and I haven't had to think about mowing or fertilizing since. It looks better than real grass, especially in August when everyone else's lawn is struggling." "Any maintenance at all?" I asked. "I rinse it off with the hose every couple of months to clean off dust. And occasionally I use a stiff broom to fluff up the blades in high-traffic areas. That's it." Mike referred me to his installer, a friendly contractor named Ray who agreed to come by the next morning to give me an estimate. As I hung up the phone, I felt a sense of excitement building. This wasn't just about avoiding HOA fines anymore. This was about reclaiming my weekends, reducing my water consumption, and, most satisfyingly, giving Patricia Delaney exactly what she asked for in the most literal way possible. I slept better that night than I had in months. Ray arrived promptly at 8 a.m., clipboard in hand, ready to transform my struggling lawn. After a thorough inspection of my yard, he confirmed what I already suspected. My soil was poor quality, my irrigation system was inefficient, and maintaining natural grass in this environment would always be an uphill battle. "You're making a smart choice," he said, measuring the dimensions of my front yard. "I've been installing artificial turf for 15 years, and I've never had a customer regret it. Especially not in this neighborhood. I've done 6 other houses in Saguaro Springs." That surprised me. 6? In this neighborhood? How did they get it past the HOA? Ray chuckled. "The good stuff looks so real that most HOAs can't tell the difference unless they get down on their hands and knees. And your HOA specifically allows artificial turf as long as it meets certain quality standards. It's right there in your covenant, Section 9.2. I hadn't bothered to read that far in the document. When I checked later, Ray was right. Artificial turf was permitted provided it was professional grade, realistic in appearance, and properly maintained. There was even a list of approved brands, and both of my final choices were on it. The work began 2 days later. Ray's crew arrived with a small excavator to remove the top 4 inches of my existing lawn. The dead grass, weeds, and layer of poor soil were hauled away in trucks. Then came loads of crushed granite for the base layer, which they meticulously graded and compacted to ensure proper drainage. As word spread about what I was doing, neighbors began to stop by. The Johnsons seemed concerned, worried perhaps that my artificial lawn might make their natural one look less impressive by comparison. The Mendozas were enthusiastic, offering cold drinks to Ray's workers and telling me I was making a wise choice. Patricia Delaney did not make an appearance, but I noticed her Lexus SUV driving by more slowly than usual on 3 separate occasions. On the 4th day, the actual turf installation began. The large rolls of synthetic grass were carefully laid out, cut precisely to fit the contours of my yard, and seamed together so perfectly that the joins were invisible. The edges were secured with special spikes, and then came my favorite part, the infill. A mixture of silica sand and rubber granules was brushed into the fibers, weighing them down and helping them stand upright, just like real grass. By sunset, the transformation was complete. I stood on my driveway looking at a lawn that appeared more perfect than any natural grass I'd ever seen. The color was a rich, varied green that caught the light beautifully. The texture looked soft and inviting. There was even a subtle variation in blade direction that gave it a freshly mowed appearance. Ray stood beside me, admiring his team's work. "What do you think?" "It's perfect," I said, unable to stop smiling. "Absolutely perfect. Give it a day to settle, then you can walk on it all you want. Furniture is fine too. It won't damage the fibers. Just remember to rinse it down every month or so, and brush it if it starts to look matted." I paid Ray the final installment, and as his truck pulled away, I felt a profound sense of satisfaction. My new lawn would need no water, no mowing, no fertilizer. It would stay green through drought and heat wave alike. And most importantly, it would never, ever violate Section 7.3 of the Saguaro Springs HOA covenant. 2 weeks passed without any communication from the HOA. My artificial lawn settled in beautifully, maintaining its perfect appearance despite a dust storm and a rare summer rain shower. I found myself actually enjoying spending time in my front yard for the first time since moving to Arizona, setting up a small bistro table and chairs where I could have my morning coffee. Several neighbors had stopped to compliment the lawn's appearance, and 3 had asked for Ray's contact information. Even Mrs. Johnson, who had initially seemed skeptical, knocked on my door one evening to feel the artificial grass for herself. "I can't believe how real it looks," she admitted, running her fingers through the synthetic blades. "And you really don't have to water it at all?" "Not a drop," I confirmed. "My water bill is already down by 30%. Then, exactly 17 days after receiving the violation notice, I spotted Patricia Delaney herself walking purposefully toward my house, clipboard in hand, her thin lips pressed into a determined line. I was washing my car in the driveway and nodded hello as she approached. "Mr. Reynolds," she began without preamble, "I'm here to follow up on the lawn violation from July 15th. I see you've made some changes." "Yes, I have," I replied pleasantly. "I've installed high-quality artificial turf that meets all the specifications in Section 9.2 of the covenant. It's the Desert Lawn Premium model, which is on the approved list." Patricia blinked, momentarily thrown off script. She looked down at my lawn with narrowed eyes, then back at her clipboard. "May I?" she asked, gesturing toward the grass. "Of course." She stepped onto the lawn, her sensible shoes sinking slightly into the cushioned surface. She crouched down, examining the blades up close, even running her hand over the surface. Finally, she stood up, brushed off her knees, and made a note on her clipboard. "Well, Mr. Reynolds, it appears you found a creative solution to your lawn maintenance issues. While I personally prefer natural landscaping, I must acknowledge that your installation complies with our guidelines." I smiled. "Thank you, Patricia. I'm glad to hear that." She hesitated, then added, "The Environmental Committee has been discussing the benefits of water conservation given our ongoing drought conditions. Your approach might be worth mentioning at our next meeting." This was as close to approval as Patricia Delaney ever came. I nodded graciously. I'd be happy to share my experience with the committee. The water savings alone have been substantial. As she walked away, I noticed her pausing to look back at my lawn once more, a thoughtful expression on her face. The following month's HOA newsletter featured an article titled "Sustainable Landscaping Options for Saguaro Springs Residents," with a whole paragraph dedicated to high-quality artificial turf as an eco-friendly alternative to natural grass. There was no mention of my name, but everyone in the neighborhood knew whose lawn had inspired the piece. By the end of summer, 2 more households on my street had switched to artificial turf. The Johnsons held out until October before finally giving in and calling Ray themselves. Even Patricia Delaney was spotted getting an estimate, though she would later claim it was merely for research purposes. As for me, I haven't received an HOA violation notice in nearly a year. My perfect plastic grass stands as a silent rebellion against the absurdity of desert lawn standards, an unnatural solution to an unnatural problem. Every morning when I step outside with my coffee, I feel the soft, perfect blades beneath my feet and smile at the memory of that crumpled violation notice that started it all. Sometimes, the best way to beat a system is to follow its rules so perfectly that it reveals its own flaws. My lawn may be artificial, but my victory over the HOA's impossible standards? That's as real as it gets.